Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is the afternoon of June 23rd, 2025, when I'm recording this, and the Iranians have just completed their counterattack on American forces in the Middle East. Um, we're going to talk about that and what it means real quick. I want to say thank you for the new subscribers, and I've really appreciated all the comments everyone's been leaving lately. Definitely some of the ones have been making fun of me. I have to say, the person who said I looked like Timu Alex Jones, that was hilarious, sir. I've been cackling over that one for a couple of days. So, by the way, I welcome anytime anyone wants to criticize me or say I'm stupid or whatever. Feel free. But either way, back to the topic at hand, which is the Iranian counter-strike against the Americans. Basically, what happened was the Iranians notified the government of Qatar what was going to happen. They then fired several missiles at American bases. At least one of the American bases had already been evacuated. It appears that the Americans had a pretty good idea this was coming, and it appears that that is largely because the Iranians told us, not told us directly, but they told other people to tell us. American air defense or missile defense worked, shot down pretty much all of the Iranian missiles. And there was really no damage and there's no casualties. Uh, those are the facts. Let's talk opinion. In my opinion, this was performance art by the Iranians. They needed to save some face. They needed to say they fought back. They've already released statements to their own public saying they pulverized, use the word pulverized, American bases in the Middle East. No such thing happened. They didn't even scratch the paint, so to speak. But it is important for the regime to look strong internally. And so they are telling their own people that they've just hammered the U.S. when realistically what it appears they happened was they basically told the Americans, look, this is basically when we're going to fire, and this is pretty much what we're shooting at. So, be ready, because they do not want a broader war with the United States. So I would say the Iranians are going to publicly declare victory. They already have, and in privately they have surrendered. Behind closed doors, they've told the Americans, we're not going to do anything about your strikes on our nuclear facilities. That is water under the bridge, so to speak. A couple other interesting points for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. The Chinese, who get something like 45 or 50% of their oil through there, have told the Iranians, do not do that. They will not accept it. They will not tolerate it. China is the largest export market for Iranian crude. So for the Iranians to have their largest foreign purchaser of crude say, do not do this, definitely really hurts their ability to do that. Frankly, if they had done it, I think what we would have seen is the Israeli Air Force and potentially the American Navy would have just sunk the Iranian Navy. Now, some people have brought up the idea, well, what if the ships sink at the right point in the Strait of Hormuz? Could they block it? Theoretically, that might be possible. The Strait of Hormuz in its deepest portions are over 600 feet. So it depends on where exactly the ships were sunk. There's also the option, Iranian ships, they don't have refueling capacity. They would have to return to base. You could just sink them when they get back to base and blow up their repair facilities and their fuel bunkers and all that other kind of stuff. So the Iranians, I don't think, are going to close the Strait of Hormuz because they will lose their navy. And they may potentially lose their largest export market for crude. Remember, Iranian crude is heavily sanctioned, so they've got to basically send it to countries that don't care. In this case, that would be China. If they lose the Chinese export market, they're down to basically having to find out what price India will give them and have to take almost any price India gives them. And that's assuming India will give them a price, which I'm not totally sure they will. So the Iranians are really kind of SOL right now. Another interesting note, you may remember in my videos a week or so ago, week and a half ago, I was saying I thought the Iranians had about a week of firing missiles at the Israelis, and then they would either be out of missiles or be out of launchers. Well, over the last 2 days, the Iranians have only fired maybe a couple of missiles at the Israelis. Reason for this is a couple of reasons. One, the Israelis have simply shot down a large number of Iranian missiles. They've also blown up several storehouses. I don't know how many missiles the Iranians have left, but they've lost many hundreds of them already in this war out of a stockpile of approximately 3,000. The second reason is that the Israelis have blown up in excess of 40 of their launch vehicles. The Iranians have these let's see if I get this right, telescopic erecting launchers. They're these mobile vehicles, and the missile comes up and shoots off. The Israelis have blown up, getting probably close to 50 of them by now. And the Iranians basically have got to catch 22. If they keep shooting missiles, they will keep losing launchers. And how many more launchers do they want to lose? These are very expensive pieces of equipment, and their hit rate is less than 10%. So the vast majority of everything they send up gets blown up. So if you're the Iranians, you're going to send up $1 million missile. You may very well lose $1 million piece of equipment, $1 million launcher in the process, and the odds of you actually scoring a hit are not much better than 10%, 15%, something like that. And by the way, the only targets you can hit are civilian targets. You can't even hit Israeli air bases or military bases or anything like that. So I'd say that's pretty much come to an end. In short, Iran's screwed. They have no allies. No one's coming to help them. They're an isolationist nation. They're not part of any military alliances. The Russians are not going to help them. Hezbollah is not going to help. What's left of Hezbollah is not going to help them. The Chinese are not going to help them. Nobody is coming to save Iran. They are out of options. The Israelis, I know, have several more targets they want to hit. So this will continue for at least a little while longer. It should be noted that several of the recent targets the Israelis have been hitting have been internal security for the Iranians, not their intelligence and security services that deal with external threats, but what they do to basically maintain their repression of the people of Iran. They've blown up several of their buildings. They blew up the headquarters, by the way, of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps. They blew that up, I think it was yesterday. But the enforcement mechanisms by which the mullahs maintain their iron grip on the people of Iran are literally physically being shattered by the Israelis. So the Israelis are, as I said previously, I said they are not going to try to topple the regime, but they are not going to do anything to save it. I would have to modify that now to say they are going to create some openings. If internal forces wanted to topple the regime, they are definitely going to make it easier for them to do so. They haven't killed Khomeini. They haven't slaughtered a bunch of the mullahs. So, I won't go so far as say that the Israelis are actively pursuing regime change, but they are definitely cracking the door open if somebody else wants to. That may change. They may start actively pursuing it. Netanyahu has made it clear he wants the regime gone. He just hasn't actually done it yet. So that's where we're on everything. But oil prices are plunging right now because everyone's kind of figured out that the Iranians are not going to war with the United States because somebody in the Iranian chain of command has had a massive attack of common sense and has figured out that they will just get slaughtered. It will be wiped out. The Americans are not going to launch some massive ground invasion where the Iranians can fight a bloody insurgency for several years. They're going to just keep getting their assets blown up. So I'd say that this one's coming to an end sooner rather than later. Not today, not tomorrow, probably not this week, maybe not even next week. But it's the end is starting to appear on the distant horizon a little bit. I don't think Trump's going to have much of a response. He characterized the Iranian response as very weak, which it was. But that also tells me he's not looking for a casus belli. He's not looking for a justification for additional strikes. He's downplaying the Iranian counterattack correctly, in my opinion. I am perfectly fine with him not counterstriking this. There's no need. We did what we needed to do. I think this has been the hallmark signature success of Trump's presidency so far. And at this point, I would not screw with it with overreach if I was him. So I think he's doing a good job on this one. I will have many other criticisms of him for the future, but for this, I think he's doing a good job. Either way, that's the talk, and hope everyone's having a great day. Bye-bye.